Hey there, TigerShark here. One of my all-time favorite TV shows is Bob's Burgers. Maybe even my number one favorite, honestly. If you don't know, it's about a family called the Belchers who own a small burger restaurant called Bob's Burgers. There's an episode where they change the art style in every scene based off of fan art that people have made of the show. Inspired by this, I decided to draw the 5 Belchers in my style. So first up is Bob. Bob is a 40-something-year-old man, balding and a little overweight. He has a distinctive mustache. He's the owner and founder of Bob's Burgers. Every single day he comes up with a new burger of the day using a pun name. For example, the New Baconings Burger or the Sit and Spinach Burger, both of which me and my wife have made and enjoyed from the official Bob's Burgers burger book. He speaks in a monotone but still manages a lot of emotion in his voice. He has a lot of self-doubt which he often struggles with during the show. He's named after his father who owns a diner. The two couldn't get along because Bob Sr. never supported Bob Jr.'s gimmick burgers, so Bob Jr. started his own restaurant. The restaurant struggles just barely keeping afloat and managing to pay the rent every month, which honestly doesn't make a lot of sense. Realistically, that place should be way more popular than it is because of how often people say the food is amazing, and they're in a really convenient location in a beach town. But I guess they needed drama for the show to happen. Anyway, Bob is a good dad and he really cares about his family. But he likes to tell them how terrible they are at helping around the restaurant. Moving on to Linda. Linda is Bob's wife. Linda is quite different from Bob. She's very loud and expressive. She's easily distractible and doesn't seem to care or stress about the restaurant nearly as much as Bob does. She tends to not take things seriously when she really should, though she supports him wholeheartedly in his entrepreneurship. Linda is very outgoing and likes to talk to the customers, maybe to an uncomfortable degree. She's very excitable and I would say gullible as well. She has a tendency to latch onto an idea and overthink it to the exclusion of other things, to an unhealthy degree, sometimes forcing her kids or Bob into situations that they don't want to be in. But under all that, she really loves her family and wants the best for them. She has a habit of bursting into song, making up lyrics about whatever she's doing or talking about at the moment. I'm still not quite sure if Bob actually likes that about her or just tolerates it. She's a bit of a classic wine mom, drinking a bit too much and talking about it like it's no big deal. Next up, the oldest child is Tina. Tina is 13 and just on the cusp of puberty. She's obsessed with boys and butts. Like Bob, she also tends to talk in a monotone. In the first episode, Louise calls her autistic and Bob says that she's not, but honestly I really think she probably is. She has a tendency to get really nervous and panicky, overthinking things and worrying excessively about her peers and their judgment. She tries to fit in with her friends, but she also has a deep sense of self and morality that often conflicts with this. She's usually the responsible one of the kids, often being the one to babysit her 2 younger siblings when their parents are out. But in the end, she's still a kid herself, so she gets into a lot of hijinks with her siblings. She generally wants to do the right thing, but she doesn't want people to be upset with her either. She can be susceptible to peer pressure, letting herself get pushed into things that she really doesn't want to do. But she always hits a breaking point where she finally pushes back and does the right thing. She just wants to be accepted wherever she goes, whether by her peers or by adults. She's really awkward and weird, but honestly, who wasn't at that age? I still am, and I'm 31. The middle child is Gene. He's 11 and he really takes after his mother. He's loud and boisterous. He loves music and usually isn't far from his Casio keyboard. He doesn't know music theory, but he puts his whole heart into what he creates. But he's also a kid, so he likes to play with fart noises and silly sounds. He's honestly kind of obnoxious, but again, who wasn't at that age? He's obsessed with food and snacks, is overweight like Bob, and doesn't like to run or exercise or work. He's a good kid, but he definitely has a weird relationship with his mom. Makes me uncomfortable every now and then. He doesn't really seem to have too many friends, but he doesn't really seem too bothered by this either. And lastly, we have the youngest child, Louise. She's 9 years old. Louise is probably my favorite character. She's kind of a crazy person. She wears a hat with bunny ears and refuses to ever take it off. Anytime her head is exposed in the show, it's off screen so we can't see it. Louise is the trouble child. She gets into trouble in school all the time and has a very antagonistic relationship with Mr. Frann, the guidance counselor. She likes pranks and candy and dangerous things. She can tend to be very selfish and rude. She manipulates Tina all the time for her own benefit. But she does have a moral compass because she usually ends up feeling bad and apologizing and tries to undo her mistakes. Under all her extra expressiveness, she's actually a really good kid. I'd like to point out how fantastic all the voice actors are for these characters. They are all absolutely perfect and on point. So now that I've got the drawings down, I'm going to leave in the coloring process. Bob and Linda usually have aprons on, though they don't wear hairnets, which they probably should in a kitchen. Bob just wears a plain white or gray t-shirt. Linda wears a long-sleeved red shirt, blue pants, and red glasses. Tina wears a light blue t-shirt, a blue skirt, and black glasses. Jean wears a yellow t-shirt and blue shorts. And Louise wears a green dress and a pink hat. They all have the same black hair. I'm going to skip the shading process. This part took as long to do as the drawing and coloring of all 5 characters. And it probably wouldn't be very fun to watch since I was scrolling around the screen really fast and just making random shapes with the pen tool. So anyway, here's the final product. I thought about drawing the restaurant as a background or just importing a JPEG or something, but I decided to just add my notebook paper background that I use for the thumbnails instead. So this is the Belcher family from Bob's Burgers in my style. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to making movie illustrations soon. Or maybe next week I'll draw side characters from Bob's Burgers like Teddy and Mr. Fish Odor. So anyway, this has been Drawing with TigerShark. I hope your day is improved and your life is spectacular. I have other channels and projects that I would love for you to check out. I have another channel called Okano Gaming where I post indie game reviews and satirical League of Legends content. I have an EP on Spotify called 5,555 Miles as my one-man band called Power Mouse. And finally, I have a clothing brand called Studio Duck Apparel featuring original artwork that I create myself. The links to these things will all be in the description.